Oh boy. Okay. Hey everybody. Archetype over analysis. Mayakashi. Oh god, Mayakashi. What the heck were you guys thinking, Konami? Jesus Christ. Okay. I know I'm going into this super negative, but I think it's pretty indisputable that Mayakashi is the worst archetype out of Hidden Summoners. And it's a shame. It's like Konami's had just bad luck with zombie archetypes as of late. You know, Vendreads were really hyped up, but ultimately didn't amount to anything due to rather weird summoning conditions. Vampires are cool and all, but a lot of their stuff wasn't very impactful. And then you got Mayakashi, which has issues with both of those. It can't make very impactful boards, and it's got way too many restrictions on it. This is one of the most, how do I put it, archetypal centric decks, like anti-other archetype, anti-mixing. I've seen some people call it xenophobic, which I'm afraid to say on YouTube because they might like ban me or something for saying a word like that. But hey, I already said it, so oh well, screw it. Oh god, Mayakashi. So what is Mayakashi? The deck is a synchro based archetype with a single link monster, and the general idea of it is synchro climbing. Okay, most notably alternating between how do I put it, odd number levels. So it goes 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Cool. Okay, heck, I think the boss monster of the deck is technically the second level 11 synchro. I might be wrong about that. The only other one I can remember off the top of my head is Star Eater, and even Star Eater, even though he's a bit outdated nowadays, even he is infinitely better than almost every single card in this archetype. The deck also has a synchro dismantling aspect to it, where each of the synchros, whenever the monster with a level higher than it, like the next one up the ladder, dies, you can banish a zombie, spell summon him from your graveyard. That's cool and all. It's meant to kind of try and keep up with your opponent for them dismantling it, but it's really easy to out, and considering that Called by the Grave is played by everybody at 2 to 3 right now and in every foreseeable format, it's an easy Called by the Grave target. The deck can special summon a crap ton. Like, oh my god, if Mcafee was around, Mayakashi's win condition would be decking out your opponent through Mcafee. It is insane how much this deck can special summon and yet still make such a little board. It's kind of crazy. The deck is also very, very graveyard reliant. I've already kind of mentioned it, but all the synchros can revive themselves by their very specific means. And yeah, to sum it up, it's this really unimpactful place with lots of restrictions. Which leads into the main issues of the deck, and also kind of like what really every single Mayakashi has. So every single Mayakashi has the effect where you can only control one of them. They also have the effect to where while they are on the field, you cannot summon any monsters from your extra deck except for Mayakashi monsters. The synchros are also basically vanillas, with the only effects they have being their revival effects and the effects they get when they are summoned from graveyard. Other than that, they are literally vanillas on field. They do nothing except revive themselves and then have a very unimpactful event effect when they are summoned from the graveyard. Now that being said, generally speaking, for each of them, the effect that happens on summon from the graveyard does not matter what way they are summoned from the graveyard. If you call 101 of them back, it will trigger. Likewise, if you use their own effect, it will trigger. If you bring them back with Mizuki, it will trigger. That's really, really cool, but also considering how just mediocre almost every single Mayakashi synchro effect actually is for the work that you gotta do to actually summon them, it's so pitiful. It's not even funny. Jesus. I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand how certain people actually think this deck is better than Nephthys. I don't understand. Nephthys can at least make plays. This deck kind of just farts, and that's about it. It farts out a board, and that's about it. I'm sorry. That's the only analogy I can think of. It's just like an unpleasant fart. Oh god, this video is gonna get demonetized, isn't it? Okay, let's talk about the monsters and the deck itself. Daki, the graceful Mayakashi. This is the heart and soul of the deck, and is literally the best card, second best card actually, of the deck. Daki, the graceful Mayakashi. So she's a zombie tuner, one of only 2 tuners in the deck for a Synchro archetype. 1000 attack, 0 defense, fire zombie, cool. You can only control 1 Daki, the graceful Mayakashi. When a Mayakashi monster or monsters is special summoned from your to your field from the extra deck while this card is in the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card. That's not once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this effect, except Mayakashi monsters. Okay, that's nice and all, especially since it only the locking is only during the summon, the turn it was summoned. Granted, considering you're going to be summoning her a lot, it's going to be happening. So, because she is literally infinite revival, there is no once per turn clause on that whatsoever. She just constantly comes back, and that is triggered every single time you summon. So, what's really cool is that, so let's say you get her and another Mayakashi out, which isn't too hard, and then you link for the link summon, okay? A monster was summoned from the extra deck. A Mayakashi was summoned from the extra deck. You can use her effect from the graveyard, special summon her. And then you can Synchro for the 3, effect, special summon her. Synchro for the 5, effect, special summon her. Synchro for the 7, effect, special summon her. Synchro for the 9, effect, special summon her. Synchro for the 11, effect, special summon her. Even, it doesn't miss timing, which is a really, really good thing, because, oh god, unfortunately the poor Gustos do, because that's you would think it does, but it doesn't, and that is so stupid. The fact that the instant she hits the graveyard, she counts as being in there for when that monster is summoned. So bang, 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 bang. You can easily special summon her a good 10 plus times a turn and still keep going. Especially if you do various shenanigans to get your synchros off the board so you can do it again. But again, honestly, I wouldn't recommend that unless your opponent drops Mcafee on you, and currently in the TCG, Mcafee is banned, so yeah. Anyways, yeah, really, you gotta play 2 to 3 of her. I say you could kind of get away with 2, if only because she's easily searchable and easy to get into graveyard, and she is literally infinite recursion. Oh boy. Next up, we got Tsukahagi, the poisonous Mayakashi. He's kind of like a bad version of Daki. You can only control 1 of him. If a Mayakashi monster in your possession, except Tsukahagi, is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while he is in the graveyard, you can special summon him from your graveyard. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck to turn you activate this effect, except Mayakashi monsters. So, oh hey, your opponent runs over your level 5, cool, special summon Tsukahagi from graveyard. Like with Daki, it's not a once per turn effect, and you can just constantly summon him from your graveyard, except unlike Daki, Daki, she happens during your turn, Tsukahagi is going to be happening during your opponent's turn, and that's just really slow. If nothing else, he's a good chum blocker, because every time your opponent runs over one of your dudes, he's going to summon himself. Granted, it's not that particularly good, because even if you have multiple copies of him in your graveyard, your opponent can just run over the non-Tsukahagis first, and then run over him, and you get nothing. And this will happen a lot. I think he's only really good as a 1 or 2 of, and that's about it. He's just too slow, and really you only want to summon Daki. Daki's the only thing that matters. Then we got Hadji, the winged Mayakashi. Fun fact, according to the Wikipedia, the Yugioh Wikia, he looks like Shiranui Solitaire. I don't see it myself, but I'm sure some of you guys do. And considering that a lot of the cards coming out in the next set, Savage Strike that is, especially with the new Shiranui stuff, it points to that it actually directly shows that the Mayakashi and the Shiranui fight each other, which honestly, the Shiranui will win because they are an objectively better zombie archetype. But anyways, Hadji, the winged Mayakashi. This is one of your best starters in the deck. He's a level 1, 600, 400 zombie effect monster. He's a wind. If he's normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 Mayakashi monster from your deck, except for himself. You can only use this effect once per turn, and then you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, except for Mayakashi monsters. And unlike with the tuners, that's just flat out while he's on the field. If you have him on the field, you cannot summon monsters from the extra deck except for Mayakashis. Now, obviously, I don't have to explain why this is good. You normal or special summon him, you summon any of your Mayakashis from your deck. So since he's a level 1, that's a 1-for-1 target. You activate 1-for-1, pitch Mizuki, special summon Heijun from deck, and then effective Heijun summon Taki from deck. It's so stupid. At least it would be if this deck was any good. I don't have to explain why you need to play 3. Then we got Shafu, who's kind of like a slightly worse Heijun. Okay, so Shafu, he does what Heijun does, but summons a Mayakashi from your graveyard or hand. Sorry, from your graveyard, not from hand. That'd be nice if he could summon from hand, because then he'd be at least another starter, but oh well. So yeah, Shafu's, he does the exact same thing, but summons from graveyard. And targets the monsters. But anyways, he's okay. He's really good in the mid to late game. But however, considering how fast the game will be over, don't count your luck on actually getting to use his effect. I still say play 3, just like Heijun, because he is that useful enough to where, hey, you're going to need him to bring back something so you can start making your Synchro and Link play again. So you can actually try and make a comeback. Next up, we got one of the 2 cards that Konami is giving this archetype, and I think, yeah, Darkness Neostorm. And this is arguably their best monster outside of Daki and Heijun. Like, really, this thing is stupid. Any zombie deck would love to have this card. So, because she's in Japanese and there's no English version of her, whatever, I had to write out the text. So, if she is in your hand or graveyard and you control a Mayakashi card, that's card, and that's kind of important because that got a continuous spell in Dark Neostorm, but it's so bad, don't even bother. But anyways, future-proofing, I guess. She's Yuki Musume, the Ice Mayakashi. Very, very cute card. Reminds me of Mizure from Rosario Vampire. But anyways, so if this card is in your hand or graveyard and you control Mayakashi card, except herself, you can spell summon this card, and if you do, send 1 zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use this effect of Yuki Musume, the Ice Mayakashi, once per turn. You cannot spell summon monsters during the action except Mayakashi monsters. That's not even just during the turn that you activate it, which means you can't even try and get around it with other things. But I don't need to explain why this thing is stupid good. If you just have a Mayakashi card on field, you can just plop her on field for free and send any zombie from your deck to your graveyard. That can be a Mizuki, that can be a Gozuki, so you can use his effect in graveyard. That can be a Daki, so you can use her effect. That can be anything, and that is so incredibly stupid. Again, at least it would be if she was in any other archetype. I've seen some people test her out along with I forget which one. I think Heijun to summon her from deck or something. But basically to try and make a little Mayakashi engine for other zombies decks, because she is so good. But I don't think it's really worth trying in other zombie decks. There's better engines. That being said, for Mayakashi, this was a darn good support card. If only the deck had better synchros. You play 3 of her. You really should. Then we got Yasha, the Skeletal Mayakashi. You can discard another Mayakashi monster, special summon this card from your hand. You can only use this effect of him once per turn, and then, of course, like with the others, while he's on the field, you cannot summon any monsters from the extra deck except for Mayakashi monsters. He's okay. I'm not a big fan of him. He's really, really good if you open Heijun alongside Daki, because then if you have another Mayakashi monster in your hand that you can discard, like Daki or something, because then you can discard Daki, summon him, normal summon Heijun, special summon another Daki from deck or something, and then you can link off for the Link monster, and then just kind of go off from there. It gets kind of nice with how that works and everything, but yeah, it's better to link off with the Heijun and the Yasha, or no, wait, no, the Yasha and the Daki you summon from deck, so then you can use Daki in graveyard, special summon her, and then start Synchro climbing. That's like one of the best things you can do. I think it's a good 2 to 3 of. It is nice. I wish you could discard any zombie so you could actually, you know, use the other zombies in your deck, because you do need to play other zombies, even though you can't special summon anything from the extra deck except for Mayakashi's. But anyways, yeah. He's also got pretty decent stats, I'm not gonna lie. He kind of reminds me of a dark version of Galaxy Soldier. Same stats, same level, same everything, except this is a zombie and objectively worse and doesn't have any other effect other than summoning himself and locking you into his own archetype, but I digress. Now then, we got the Synchros. The level 3. Oboro Guruma, the Wheeled Mayakashi. He's a level 3... level 800 attack, 2100 defense, needs 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuners. Okay, so fun fact, I didn't notice this until I was making this, but holy crap, there is so much text on the Mayakashi. And just for the fact that this deck doesn't do anything, none of the Synchros do anything, and yet there's so much text on them that they actually had to go and put a slash and then cram some of the effect next to the summoning requirements. Jesus. Okay, so, you can only control one of him, like with every other Mayakashi. You can only use each of his effects once per turn. If a Synchro monster in your possession whose original level is 5 is destroyed by an opponent's by battle or an opponent's card effect, while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one other zombie from your graveyard, and if you do, spell summon this card. I'm not going to bother repeating that for every single Mayakashi Synchro because they all have that exact same effect, except instead of a level 5, for the level 5 it's a level 9, level 7, and then for the level 7 it's a level 9. So you see how that works. If the next one up dies, you can banish a dude from your graveyard, special summon him. I do like how it's any zombie, not just Mayakashi monster, so that does make some interesting plays with some other zombies and stuff. But I digress. And then, if this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can activate this effect this turn. Your monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. Congrats! This is the last monster you'll be summoning after 6 other monsters get killed, or 5 other monsters get killed, 6 to 5, whatever. And, oh, you got protection from battle. Cool. Congrats. You gotta play 2 because this deck is so locked into its own archetype that you have to play 2 of everybody, basically. Next up, we got... Jesus, that text is so small. So bright. Suchu Yomo, the Poisonous Mayakashi. He's the level 5 of the deck. 2k attack, 1800 defense. He's okay in terms of stat line. Wish he was a bit more beefy, but whatever. And then, of course, he has the same effects as the others, where level 7 gets destroyed, you can banish a dude, blah, 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 bring him out. If he is summoned from the graveyard, you can have each player send a top 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard. Yay! Okay, so the whole point of this is to get more stuff in your graveyard to banish for the Synchros to summon back from the graveyard. That's a nice idea, but honestly, I'd rather have it be like send 3 zombies from your deck to the graveyard or something. Maybe that would be too stupid, but oh well. It is nice they can also mill out your opponent because that can just further exasperate the milling aspect of the deck if Maxi ever comes back. Next up, we got Tengu, the Winged Mayakashi. Worst version of the good Tengu, who's not even that good anymore. He's a level 7, obviously. If he's summoned from the graveyard, you get to pop a spell or trap card. Cool. You get to pop a spell or trap card. For summoning him from the graveyard. Now, granted, again, with standard zombie stuff, that's nice, where you can bring him back from the graveyard. And then, hey, he is, like with the other Mayakashi Synchros, he is generic. So if you want to play him in other non-Mayakashi Synchro decks, and then, take advantage of, the Mizuki stuff and pop spells and traps. Same thing with the level 9, except he pops monsters. Oh no, I spoiled it. But yeah, it is nice that he does have popping, but yeah, it kind of sucks that it's on the higher level monsters. And then, yeah, I spoiled it already, but Yoko, the Graceful Mayakashi to level 9, which actually I think was the first Mayakashi to be revealed. And it kind of set up a lot of people for kind of hype for this deck, because it was like, oh, this is so cool. But nope. But yeah, he's the reverse of Tengu whenever he's summoned from the graveyard. I guess she, technically, because if you guys haven't noticed, the main deck Mayakashi turned into the extra deck Mayakashi. And this is literally Daki turned into a Kitsune, I think is the official name of the yokai. They're all based on Japanese yokai, which is basically monster spirits. If you've ever watched Everyday Life of Monster Girls or Rosario Vampire, or heck, any like monster girl related series in anime lately. You know exactly the kind of creatures I'm talking about. Although not as, you know, hot. Anyways, yeah, if Yoko summoned from the graveyard, you can pop a monster your opponent controls. That's cool and on. Again, like with the others, Yoko's generic, but however, being a level 9, you're not going to be summoning her in the other zombie archetypes very often, if ever, because level 9's a bit of an awkward number, but oh well. Also, there's better level 9 synchros. And then we get to the big bad boss monster, Gasha Dokuro, the skeletal Mayakashi. Thing looks cool. 3,300 attack, 2,600 defense. It's a level 11. What could this thing possibly do? It's gotta be amazing. Maybe pop everything on field? Maybe, I don't know, banish some cards out of your opponent's graveyard and hand? Maybe do something insanely amazing and impactful and make your opponent fear destroying your Link monster where you get to summon it to your graveyard? No! You don't, okay? So firstly, this is the only one that differentiates between the others because there is no level 13. Instead, if your Link monster dies by battle or a component's card effect, you can banish a zombie, summon him from your graveyard. It should be noted that that's any Link monster, not just a Mayakashi Link monster. So if you somehow manage to summon Vampire Sucker into deck, which will never ever happen because everything's locked into your own archetype, then hey, Vampire Sucker dies, you can summon Gasha Dokuro from the deck. From the graveyard. But anyway, so what do you get for summoning this big level 11? It takes a lot of stuff to do to summon. You get to make him immune to face up card effects for the turn. He becomes immune to card effects for the turn. More than likely, this will be the last monster you summon because your opponent's probably going to hold off on running over to Link first. Unless, well, something else happens or some other thing. Meaning, it's after everything's already happened. Congrats. And then more than likely, your opponent has a Called by the Grave or Ash Spell or, God forbid, Necrovalia if you're somehow taking this to a tournament. Or some reason taking this to a tournament. So, yeah. Yeah, he becomes immune to card effects for the rest of the turn. Not even just permanently. What the heck? This is the boss monster. This is insanely sad of a boss monster. This makes Rainbow Dragon look like Judgment Dragon by comparison. What? Geez. So, yeah, I recommend only playing 1 to 2 of this guy. Because even though you do ultimately end up summoning him because he is the strongest and he is the one that dismantles the whole rest of the archetype in terms of the synchro thingy, the synchro dismantling part, he's not as good as the others, and that's a shame because it's a shame with this whole archetype because this has some cool looking artwork. Like, I love every single artwork of all of these, except for Yasha, he looks weird, but everybody else looks so cool. Like, but no, it feels like a waste of artwork, and that sucks. This is a waste of a boss monster. Then we get to the #1 waifu, which I'm not even joking about that. Japan loves Yugioh, the Ice Mayakashi. She has so much fan art, it's kind of crazy. Anyway, so, but that doesn't save her from being crap. So, Link 2, 1900 attack, needs 2 Mayakashi monsters. So she's locked into her own archetype. You can't even use other zombies to make her. You can only control one of her, like with all of the Mayakashis. When this card points, while this card points to a synchro monster, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. That's pretty nice. She's pretty weak. She is a bit stronger than Sucker though, so oh well. And then if a synchro monster in your possession is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while this card is on a field, you can target one face-up monster on the field. Its attack and defense become half of its current attack and defense until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of Yugioh, the Ice Mayakashi, once per turn. So, the whole point of this deck is to synchro climb and then let them die so you get their graveyard effects. And Yugioh is supposed to sit there and protect herself and kind of troll your opponent and prevent them from, continuing attacking you. More so than that, her effect to kind of stop your opponent from attacking everything, because, the halving eye, attack and defense. Whenever a synchro monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, which is what you want, is a once per turn. It's a once per turn. Why is that a once per turn? Your synchros are going to be getting smashed left and right. They are literally vanillas while on the field. And you can only use her attack, half, and defense thing once that turn. That is insane. Not only that, but she literally just doesn't do anything. The attack and defense having is kind of cool and all, but that should be like a cherry on the iceberg kind of, effect. There should be more. Why is it that whenever a synchro monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can send a zombie from your deck to the graveyard, or you can send one card your opponent controls to the graveyard, or you can make your opponent discard a card, or heck, because she's a Yugioh and is supposed to freeze your opponent, why not make it to where you can target one monster your opponent controls each time, any card, make it even better. Every time a synchro you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one card your opponent controls, negate its effects. Not even just until the end of the turn, like the attack and defense thing is, just permanently. Just negate its effects. It's frozen. It's a frozen icicle. There you go. But no, it just halves attack and defense and then prevents herself from being attacked. The idea with this card was that she's supposed to freeze your your enemies and then make it to where your synchros are a bit better protected. But it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that at all. God, what? Who was the guy in Q&A or whatever it's called, the testing cycle, who thought that these were good? I don't get it. Konami, what the heck? It's like you're actively making this deck bad. At least Ice Barriers had an idea of what they wanted to do. They had like 5 different ideas of what they wanted to do, and Konami couldn't decide on one, but at the very least, they had a very good boss monsters. This kind of reminds me of a reverse Ice Barrier, where Ice Barriers had crappy main deck monsters, but a really darn good extra deck. This is the reverse. The main deck monsters, for the most part, if these were in any other archetype, with better synchros, better extra deck monsters, this would be a darn good scary deck. Summoning any monster from the deck, summoning a tuner 20 times in a turn, that would be stupid. That'd be insane. It really would. And yet, no, it's the reverse of Ice Barrier's crappy extra deck, good main deck monsters. And heck, as we go, and by the way, you gotta play 2, at the very least, because, locked into summoning Mayakashi's, so you're stuck summoning her. I love her artwork. She's adorable. I appreciate all the fan art of her, but God, it's just bleh, as a card itself. But moving on to the best card in the deck, other than Daki. Mayakashi Return. If you want to play this deck, this is the reason why you do it, because this card is stupid. And actually, that was really stupid, because you still shouldn't play this deck because of that. Mayakashi Return. Normal spell card. You can only activate one of it per turn. Okay, so just got to get that out of the way first and foremost. Take one Mayakashi card, accept a copy of itself from your deck, and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Any Mayakashi card, you get to either add to your hand or send it to the graveyard. That's monster, spell, or trap. The only thing you can't do is add another copy of itself. This is insane. Imagine this in Vendreads. Being able to search out any Vendread card or send it to the graveyard? That'd be insane! Imagine it in Shiranui. Heck, imagine it in any deck. Imagine if Fossil Dig said add one level 6 or lower dino or send it to your graveyard. I mean, granted, that's literally what Overraptor does, but I digress. This is stupid. This is insane. This card, if this was in any other archetype, it'd be almost ban-worthy with how stupid searchable it is. I mean, heck, this is basically Mayakashi Engage. Granted, it doesn't let you draw a card, but, for zombies, add or send, that's incredibly good. It's a Rhoda or a Foolish. For any card, monster, spell, trap. I know I'm repeating myself, but I gotta drill it into your heads on just how stupid good this card is in a stupid bad archetype. Okay? You gotta play 3 of this card. It is that good. It is so insanely good. Oh boy, I can't say the same about the other spell card in the deck. Printed in Dark Neostorm alongside Yuki Musume, the really, really good monster. We got quite possibly the worst card in the deck. I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, it has some good points. It has some good points, and it's honestly kind of worth running, if only because of its second effect, the graveyard effect. But at least I hope it's a graveyard effect, unless I'm misreading it. So, okay. By the way, fun fact, if you go and search this card on a Wikia, they didn't even bother putting the English translated text. I had to type out all this for you guys. Monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense for each Mayakashi monster in your graveyard. You can only use one of the following effects per turn and only once that turn. So you can only use one or the other, you can't use both. You can send this card in one face-up Mayakashi you control to the graveyard, draw one card. Cool. Negging one to draw one. Cool. Send 2 cards, draw 1. Fun. Why not draw 2, make it an even? And then you can banish this card from your graveyard. Banish this card and 1 zombie from your graveyard. I'm hoping I'm reading that right, and that it says banish this card from your graveyard and 1 zombie from your graveyard. To target 1 Mayakashi in your graveyard, special summon it. If that second effect is really a graveyard effect, this card is literally only should be played for that. You Foolish Burial Goods it, banish it in a zombie, summon any Mayakashi from your graveyard. That's pretty good. If it's banish this card from the field and a Mayakashi from the graveyard, I mean, it's kind of still good, but your opponent can MST it or something, and that's just, yeah. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this card at all. It's just 100 attack and defense loss, that's mediocre. Very minimal. If it was like even 300, it'd be better. Drawing 1 by sending 2 cards to the graveyard is really, really sad. I mean, granted, you know, yeah, it does technically make it to where you can use its graveyard effect then, because it gets it into the graveyard and it gets a zombie in your graveyard, so then you can use its effect to summon a Mayakashi from your graveyard. But you can't even do it right away because you gotta wait a turn. That's really obnoxious. You gotta wait a turn to be able to do a Monster Reborn for a zombie. For Mayakashi, I should say. And yet there's better ways of going about doing that, like Monster Reborn, Soul Charge, Call to Haunted, Wasted of the Dragon Souls, Mizuki, you know, Book of Life. Zombies have so many different ways of summoning monsters in the graveyard. This thing is way too slow to do so. I'm not a big fan of this card. Maybe playing it as a 1 or 2 of would be fine, but I don't see any reason to play more than maybe 1 or 2. Then we got the trap card, Mayakashi Metamorphosis. This card, I'm going to be honest, I'm very iffy on, even more so than the others. You discard a card and target one of your Mayakashi monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Special summon it. Your opponent cannot target it with card effects this turn. You cannot special summon from the extra deck Mayakashis. And yeah, you can only activate 1 of this per turn, because of course you can. Yeah, again, I'm very iffy about it, because there's just better and faster ways of summoning monsters from the graveyard. I do like how it can summon a Mayakashi from the banish zone as well, so if you do have to banish one of your Synchros, you can bring it back. But yeah, I'm, again, really iffy on this card. Play it at your own discretion, but I'm kind of testing out 2 right now myself. Might drop it down to 1. There's just a lot of faster ways to summon monsters from the graveyard, so yeah. Okay, outside of support, literally all good zombie support. I mean, let's be honest, Mizuki, Gozuki, Book of Life, Uni Zombie, Goblin Zombie, literally everything that says zombie that summons from grave or is commonly played in other zombie decks is pretty decent in this deck. Vampire Sucker is kind of good in the deck if you can actually find a way to summon her, and of course Vampire Frowlin is really good as well, especially considering how this deck has pretty mediocre attack until you get to like the level 7 Synchro. So Frowlin can help out a lot, especially with trying to make Sucker, which you would rather summon Sucker because at least she generates you advantage and makes an impact on the board, unlike good old Yugioh. So, what needs work? Just about everything, in all honesty. I'm really sorry. I've been so negative with this, but consider it tough love, okay? I love the idea of this deck. Synchro climbing and then dismantling the Synchros to get bonus effects is really cool, but that's just, it's not the bonus effects, that's the main effects. These monsters have no effects on field unless they're summoned from the graveyard, and even then they're so unimpactful for the most part, except for the level 9 and the 7, to where it's kind of irrelevant. So to that end, I would say better synchros first and foremost. The deck needs more spells and traps, and it needs better spells and traps. Something on a level of Mayakashi Return, especially if Konami has no intention of giving this deck good extra deck monsters. They need good spells and traps, and also likewise better main deck monsters. If you guys hadn't noticed, the Synchros have no such restriction on being able to summon non-Mayakashis from the extra deck. So having better main deck monsters that can get them out on the field and doesn't lock you into the archetype would be really, really good, because then you could make the Synchros, and then you could try and link off of the Synchros, and then maybe bring back the Synchros from the graveyard to use their utility effects in the grave. Well, on the field after summoning them from the grave. God. I really want better for this deck. I love the artwork. I love the lore. The rivalry between it and Shiranui is really kind of cool, and I like that a lot. Especially since Shiranui is an honestly really good zombie deck, especially after the new stuff coming out. And I just want to see I just want to see better for this deck. I feel like Konami really dropped the ball on this one, and I don't know if they were just like thinking that, oh, this is going to be a fun deck for fun people, or if they really thought this would be good, because for some reason, out of any of the 3 decks in Hidden Summoners, this deck got support. And it got more cards than Prankins. Prankins got 1 card to go along with this, to go after the set after Hidden Summoners. This deck got 2. 1 really good, 1 really bad. You know, like, why can't Neftis get some good stuff too? Like, oh jeez. Hopefully Konami gives Neftis some support in this set after Dark Neostorm, because it kind of seems like they're gonna give like 1 of each or something. Hopefully they give 2 to Neftis, because they actually do need it. God, but I digress. What do you guys think of Mayakashi? Have I been too hard on the deck? Am I missing something? I've tried playing this deck a lot. I'm trying to put it together in real life, so maybe I can see something I'm not seeing playing it online. I've played this deck on streams for you guys, and it just drives me up the wall with how mind aggravating it is. I can't even think of a word right now. I'm so aggravated. So, what do you guys think? Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. See y'all later. And hopefully we can talk about a better archetype next time. Peace out, guys.